If you're thinking about moving to Houston, there are a few things you need to know that most people on the internet are not talking about. Because yes, you've probably heard that Houston is affordable, the job market is strong, and the food scene is amazing. And all of that is true. But what about the humidity that feels like you walked into a steam room? What about the traffic? What about hurricanes, flooding, and storm season? And what about this? The fact that where you choose to live in Houston can completely change your experience here. Because Houston is not just one city with one lifestyle. It's dozens of completely different lifestyles, all packed into one giant metro area. So today, we're giving you the real truth about living in Houston. The pros, the cons, the surprises, and the things people usually don't find out until after they move here.
Hi, I'm Jen, and this is Kristy. We're the Homegirls Realty Group with Keller Williams Northeast, and we help people relocate to Houston all the time. The very first thing you need to understand about Houston is that this city is massive, and I mean massive. A lot of people move here thinking, oh, Houston is Houston. No, Houston is really a collection of suburbs, neighborhoods, business districts, master planned communities, and completely different lifestyles, all connected together by highways. You don't just move to Houston, you move to Kingwood, Katy, the Woodlands, Memorial, the Inner Loop area, and dozens of other areas. And each one feels different. Some areas feel wooded and quiet, suburban and family-oriented, highly upscale, urban and fast-paced, newer and master-planned, or more established and traditional. And honestly, this is one of the biggest mistakes people make when relocating here. They focus on Houston as a whole instead of focusing on which part of Houston actually fits their lifestyle. Because two people can both say they live in Houston and have completely different daily lives. One person may be surrounded by trees and a golf course, while another is living in a highly urban environment near downtown. And understanding that early makes a huge difference.
One of Houston's biggest advantages is opportunity. The job market here is incredibly strong, especially in energy, engineering, healthcare, aerospace, manufacturing, logistics, and construction. Houston has major industries that continue to bring people here from all over the country. You've got the Texas Medical Center, which is the largest medical complex in the world. You've got the energy corridor with major oil and gas companies. You've got NASA and aerospace jobs down near Clear Lake. And one thing people often don't realize, Houston isn't dependent on one downtown area. There are multiple business hubs spread across the city. That gives people options, but it also creates one of Houston's biggest challenges: commuting, because where you work matters a lot here. You can accidentally create a miserable daily commute just by choosing the wrong area. And in Houston, distance on a map can be very deceiving. Something that looks close might actually take 45 minutes to drive. That's normal here. So one of the smartest things you can do before moving is figure out where you'll work, how often you'll commute, and what kind of lifestyle you actually want before choosing a location.
Now let's talk about one of the biggest reasons people move to Houston: housing affordability. Compared to cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, Seattle, New York, Denver, or even Austin, Houston is still relatively affordable. And for many people moving from out of state, this is one of the biggest shocks. You can often get larger homes, newer homes, bigger yards, pools, game rooms, media rooms, or 3-car garages for significantly less than they're used to paying. A house that might cost well over $1 million somewhere else could be dramatically less here. And for families, that can be life-changing. Now, there is a trade-off. Texas does not have a state income tax, which sounds great, until you realize property taxes are higher. And depending on the neighborhood, the tax rate can impact your monthly payment quite a bit. So sometimes people look at the home price and think, wow, this is cheap. But then the monthly payment ends up higher than expected because of taxes and insurance. So when moving to Houston, you really need to evaluate taxes, insurance, HOA fees, commute, and lifestyle, not just the sticker price of the house.
All right, let's talk about the weather, because this is one thing that absolutely catches people off guard. Houston summers are hot, and not just hot, they're humid. Very humid. And if you're moving from somewhere with dry heat, this feels very different. You walk outside and immediately feel it, especially from around May through September. The humidity can make 95 degrees feel much hotter. Now, locals do adapt. You start planning your life around mornings, evenings, shade, air conditioning, pools, patios, and indoor activities during peak heat. And honestly, after a while, you adjust more than you think you will. But yes, summer is intense. Now, on the positive side, winters are extremely mild. You're not shoveling snow, scraping ice off your windshield, or dealing with freezing temperatures for months. Most of the year, you can comfortably be outside, and for a lot of people, that trade-off is worth it.
Now let's talk about the topic that almost everyone asks about: hurricanes and flooding. And this is probably one of the biggest concerns people have before moving here. So let's talk about it realistically. Yes, Houston does experience hurricanes and tropical storms. And yes, flooding can happen. But here's what people outside of Houston often misunderstand. Most storms are tracked days in advance. This is not something where people wake up shocked with no warning. There's usually time to prepare. And preparation becomes part of life here. People know how to prepare, what supplies to buy, how to stay informed, and when to take storms seriously. Now, can hurricanes bring major rain? Absolutely. And Houston's flat terrain can contribute to flooding in certain areas. But here's the key thing to understand. Flooding is extremely location specific. Some neighborhoods have very little history of flooding. Others are much more prone to flooding. And that's why local knowledge matters so much, because this is not something where you can just look at a map and assume every area is the same. It's not. Another thing people don't realize, many Houstonians are very calm about storm season. Prepared, yes, but not panicked, because storms are simply part of life on the Gulf Coast. And honestly, after living here a while, you learn the difference between normal heavy rain, tropical weather, and truly serious threats. And one thing Houston has improved tremendously over time is flood mitigation and drainage infrastructure. So yes, it's something to understand and respect, but it's also something millions of people successfully live with every year.
Now, let's talk about traffic, because this one is real. Houston traffic absolutely exists. But here's the thing, it's very dependent on location, timing, and commute direction. You've got Loop 610, Beltway 8, Interstate 10, Interstate 45, Highway 59, and the Grand Parkway. And those roads become part of everyday life. One thing you quickly learn in Houston, you don't measure distance in miles, you measure it in time. A place that looks 15 miles away could take 20 minutes or an hour depending on traffic. And locals become very strategic about where they live, where they shop, where they work, and what side of town they stay on, because nobody wants to spend their entire life driving.
Now let's get to one of the best parts of Houston, the food. Houston is one of the most diverse cities in America, and the food scene reflects that. You can find incredible Tex-Mex, authentic Vietnamese food, amazing Indian cuisine, Korean barbecue, Nigerian food, Cajun food, incredible seafood, and some of the best barbecue in Texas. And one thing people quickly realize, some of the best restaurants are hidden gems. Tiny places, strip centers, family-owned spots, places you'd never notice unless someone local told you about them. And honestly, Houston's food scene surprises a lot of people. It's genuinely one of the strongest parts of living here.
Houston has a very relaxed feel overall. People are generally friendly. There's a strong mix of cultures and backgrounds, and compared to some other larger cities, Houston tends to feel less intense. Now, the lifestyle here is definitely more car dependent. This is not a city where most people walk everywhere, but in exchange, people often get more space, larger homes, bigger yards, and more flexibility. You can find golf course communities, wooded neighborhoods, luxury high-rises, suburban master-planned communities, acreage properties, and urban living, all within the same metro area. And that flexibility is one of Houston's biggest strengths.
Now let's talk about the things that surprise people after they move here. First, how green Houston actually is. A lot of people imagine Houston as concrete and freeways, but many areas are filled with mature trees, parks, trails, lakes, and greenbelts, especially in places like Kingwood and the Woodlands. Another surprise? How international Houston feels. The diversity here is incredible. And because of that, people from all over the world often feel comfortable here quickly. And lastly, people are often surprised by how neighborhood focused life becomes. Most people end up spending most of their time near home, near work, and within their part of town because Houston is so large.
So what is it really like to live in Houston? Honestly, it depends heavily on where you live. Houston can offer opportunity, affordability, diversity, incredible food, strong job markets, and a lot more house for your money. But it also comes with heat, humidity, traffic, storms, and the need to choose your location carefully. For the right person, Houston can be an amazing place to live, especially if you choose the right area for your lifestyle.
If you're thinking about moving to Houston and trying to figure out where to live, what areas fit your lifestyle, what commute makes sense, or what neighborhoods might work best for you, reach out in the pinned comment below. We would love to help guide you through the process. And if this video helped you, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.